Oh, hi, Malcolm Nance. How are you?
Well, hello, Steffi.
Hello, in your big man chair. How are you?
I'm well. I'm out of my man cave,
Yeah.
and I'm up in my refined super secret office.
Oh, well, okay. Where you playing the super secret spy stuff? So, by the way, so speaking of that letter, we're just so screwed on coronavirus, aren't we, Malcolm? I mean, one of the things they're saying, first of all, it's really hot in many areas of the country, so more people are inside, which where coronavirus is worse with air conditioning, which makes it worse. And then
Yes.
the CDC director warns this coming fall and winter, quote, may be one of the most difficult times we've experienced in American public health. I already thought of that. What about when it starts being too cold for people to be outside in many areas of the country? I mean, so
Yeah.
he accidentally got to speak some truth. Redfield, right? He said, "I hate to see these public health issues become politicized." Yeah, I wonder who could be doing that. He said, "I'm worried. I do think the fall, winter of 2020 and 21 are going to be one of the most difficult times we've experienced in American public health because of the co-occurrence of COVID and influenza. The assault of the virus on our nation next winter will actually be even more difficult than the one we just went through." Oh, great! Something to look forward to, Malcolm.
Yeah, and the kicker there is that we haven't gone through phase one yet. He's talking about phase two, the winter pandemic, in the same way that it happened in 1918, where 1917, when the actual flu came out, it didn't really start killing people until the second wave. We're still in the first wave, according to Dr. Fauci, where we could have gone down and had a V-shaped recovery, and had waited for the second wave, but we didn't. So it is all on Donald Trump's head for all of this stupidity of reopening these states. And now you have states like I was just watching on MSNBC. Alabama is in a state of crisis. They had 40 people die last night in a tiny state like that. They said they have something like 200 ICU beds left in the whole state.
Yeah.
You know, another hospital wanted to transfer a patient 125 miles because they had heard that a patient died at that hospital and it freed up a bed.
A bed.
This is the state that we're in right now. And I'm sorry, it is time to start blaming Donald Trump personally. He is going to cause hundreds of thousands of deaths when this all really starts to kick in, and his followers don't believe it at all. So what does he do? He wants to silence the CDC, take away all reporting from the CDC that comes from hospitals and bring it into a political appointee
I
in
was
the White House.
I
This
was
is
just
madness. It's madness.
I was just going to ask you about that next, Malcolm. This is another step, right? As you and Sarah Kendzior would tell us, on the road to authoritarianism. They're
Yep.
changing how hospitals are required to send COVID case data to the government, bypassing the CDC in favor of the Department of Health and Human Services, where I'm sure he has somebody flunky, whatever. Right, the number of available beds, as you just said, in intensive care units, patients on ventilators, stockpiles of PPE, many other data points will be collected daily by a department more closely aligned with the White House. Yeah, that's not suspect.
No, that's
They're
crazy.
Yeah, it also reinforces fears Trump is actively trying to undermine scientists at a critical juncture in the health crisis. Four former CDC directors expressed similar concerns. You saw that piece in the Post, arguing experts at the CDC were being undermined by politicians in a way that will prove devastating to public health. I mean, that's his only play. Let's try to further cover up these stats, because it's the cases that are making me look at. He said it again, Malcolm. We're creating cases with testing. We're not giving people coronavirus with testing. I mean, it's just insane.
The stupid is so strong here. I want to talk about the shouty McShoutface visage of Malcolm Nance here. I'm not naturally like this. I am just reaching the proper level of outrage that all of you should have. You should all be a nation of shouty McShoutfaces. I mean, I've had enough. I can't stand the incompetence
Right.
that I'm seeing here. It's killing my fellow American citizens. I mean, left and right, because you don't see the deaths and the death is not in your house. It just can't be a number like school shootings. You need to be outraged that this administration is allowing people to die. They are causing people to die through incompetence and negligence. I mean, they essentially disbanded, right, the coronavirus task force because they said they had a handle on it. With Trump coming out and saying madness like if we stop testing coronavirus testing causes cases, is he nuts? Oh yes, he is. He's not only malicious, he's evil and he's dangerous.
Yeah.
And we need to start saying that out loud. Don't laugh at him anymore. Start saying he is malicious and dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the irony, Malcolm, is if he did what any other country did that beat this, he could have been a hero and cruised to re-election. If he had shut the country down immediately, like they did in other, right? Paid people to stay home. Everybody wears a mask. Everyone stays home. We would have been through this, like New Zealand, like other countries that have. But I mean, this is just a playbook for how to do everything wrong at every turn. And don't you feel like you're in some horrible pandemic Groundhog Day? Federal stockpile is thin amid coronavirus surge, internal documents show. He's done nothing about any of it. The federal government may not have the capacity to supply medical professionals with personal protective equipment amid the latest coronavirus surge. And okay, the strategic national stockpile, right? They have fewer than 900,000 gloves in reserve after shipping 82 million of them, or just 30% of the amount that was requested by state, local, etc. In particular, nursing homes and long-term care facilities say there's a major protective equipment shortage. Currently, nearly 20% of nursing homes report to CDC they either do not have or have less than 1 week's supply of PPE. Here we go on an N95 mask, still not available, and we're not included in FEMA shipments to nursing homes. Okay. And the chief supply chain official for the White House, Malcolm, said, "Oh, it's just not that dire. I'm not going to pretend that supply and demand are perfectly aligned again because there's some residual hunting and pecking for a few things." And they call this embers. They call it embers. What's happening when the country is full on fire?
It's absolutely insane. Again, everyone should be personally outraged. You can't get exhausted from the outrage. You have to stoke this with every stupid comment they make. God forbid, any half-competent person in the armed forces right now could run this entire thing the right way. You know, mark my words, I think the Biden administration should right now come up with a national coronavirus pandemic, Marshall Plan, saying that on the 4th of November, when they win, all the way up through January 21st, they want companies to start submitting bids, start putting people into position so that at 12 noon on January 21st, 2021, some person who is designated can start blitzing the nation. I would take over factories using the Defense Production Act.
Yeah.
I would say we are going to have 100 times the amount of stockpile needed per year. They were saying that they have this vaccine that might be successful. They don't know, but they can only create 500,000 to 1 billion units per year. They say they're going to need 8 billion units worldwide per year. So, I mean, this thing's going to be with us even if vaccines come for the next 2 years at a minimum. Yeah. And we have this incompetent clown, this fool, this idiot who doesn't even believe it exists. And let me tell you, Karma, I'm calling you to do your national duty. There's only one way Donald Trump will ever be convinced of this, and this is if he gets the full Tony Blair. I mean, he gets the full Boris Johnson.
Yeah. There's a headline this morning, Big Pharma execs said lawmakers touting vaccine by the year's end are doing a grave disservice. There's nobody clappier than me. And, when I hear whatever companies say things, this is looking promising, that's great. But we all know, I mean, Dr. Redlener said this on the air last week, Malcolm. He said, this is my Operation Warp Speed. It's my fears. Like in October, Trump's going to go, I got it. I found the vaccine. It's all, that's their October surprise when we all know what the fastest vaccine on record, right, is 4 years.
4 years for SARS-2.
Right.
And that was based on a coronavirus that we knew all about.
Yeah.
We knew all about it, and it took 4 years of global effort to develop a vaccine. We would have to, and this is another thing that I think Biden and his campaign should do. They should say, for all of you idiots out there who were saying America first, America alone, no, this is going to be a global Marshall Plan. We're not going to save just ourselves. We're going to save everybody.
Right, because what did we learn this time? If you don't eradicate it everywhere, it'll be here again. It can't be America first. If you don't give everyone in the world the vaccine, this is going to happen again. By the way, yeah, everything that people say, and I want to believe me, but I've admitted to being hooked on a psychic for a while. I like good news and hope as much as anybody. But this story in Vox, did you see? Can you catch COVID-19 twice? A doctor suggests herd immunity could be wishful thinking. My patient caught COVID-19 twice. So long to herd immunity hopes. Emerging cases of COVID-19 reinfection suggest herd immunity could be wishful thinking. And it may be worse the second time around. There's like a bunch of cases now here that not just his patient, but other patients,
Well, I'm sure you've already discussed the situation with the teachers in Arizona, where it appears it killed a teacher and 2 others infected would likely got it from their students after sending them back to school. I mean, look, I'm sorry. I have been in some dramatic situations in my 30 years in the world where I thought my life was at risk, where I thought strategic, decisions hung in the balance based on the information and the actions and the decisions that I was involved in. Wars left and right. Nothing is as serious as what's happening right now. Nothing. We are at the point where Donald Trump is turning this from a controllable virus into a nation killer.
I mean,
a nation killer virus is one in which, people will start falling ill in the streets visibly, and that's the only way that people are understanding it. 49 states in this country, outside of New York State, where we had our first 0 death day. Yesterday. Yeah. 0 deaths. I mean, the rest of this country is in for the New York treatment because Donald Trump's incompetence is killing us.
Yeah.
And we need to say that out loud. We need to say it repeatedly.
Yeah. And Malcolm, that's the problem with America First, is we have case studies in country after country of how to do this right. And of course, don't we have a template now with Israel? They tried to send kids back to school. It was a disaster. They kept citing Sweden, been a disaster. I mean, it's just like we know what works and what doesn't work. And here we are. Cases are going up and up and up. First of all, it was so bad in March, we had to shut the schools down. Now we're way worse than that, and we're talking about reopening schools?
It's all about money to these people. I will say this again. I've said it on radio yesterday. I said it on television on Saturday. At some point in history, we are going to find the documents or the minutes of the meeting where the Trump administration made an active decision to go to herd immunity and forget all other options.
Which might not, I just said, as doctors are saying, it might not even exist with this disease, right. Herd immunity.
4% of people have antibodies, according to their own testing.
Yeah.
That means that they made a decision to allow people to die. People are going to come back and go, that's a conspiracy theory. Yeah, well, for 4 years, the Holocaust was a conspiracy theory until you found it.
Right.
And then they found the document where they made that decision.
And meanwhile,
there is Stephen Miller, Trump, Navarro, and all the rest of them, they had a Vanity conference at some point where they said, well, we're just going to have to live with it. That means they are going to allow you to die.
Yeah.
And
Malcolm,
we need change here.
Yeah, we're long again, but I have to say, and mission accomplished on no one's asking him about the Russian bounty on our soldiers, our servicemen's heads, which he's done nothing about. I mean, we're in so many levels of insanity, starting with that he's insane. Yes. And no one's even saying that in 63 minutes in the White House Rose Garden yesterday.
Maliciously insane. And I'm sorry, one last call out for these journalists. What is wrong with you?
Thank you.
We are at a point where I couldn't possibly, I don't care what my rank was, I don't care what my position was, I couldn't possibly stand in the room with that person without shouting out, what's wrong with you? Why are you killing us? Act like a god, like nope. You are I saved myself.
Thank you.
Act like an adult and save this nation.
Thank you.
He won't do it.
Yep. I hear you. I love you, Malcolm Nance. I'm dumping you now before we have to dump whatever you're going to say next, which I see it in your thought bubble. I love you. I love you, Malcolm Nance.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Buy every book he's ever written. Do it now.